Hello, BookTube. I am doing a read along of Lord of the Rings with David Wiley and Tony from An Erudite Adventure. And we started out with the Two Towers, and we started out with the idea of doing it in blocks of chapters. But I started right away doing every chapter, just talking about every chapter as we go through the book. Uh, I've had a number of emails. I mentioned this yesterday. I've had a number of emails from people suggesting or even demanding that I do this with some other book, that I do this with continuously with lots of books. And I guess I will do that. I am now thinking about which book I want to do that for, but we've still got a long way to go with this because I'm going to finish Return of the King and then I'm going to wrap around and do the Fellowship of the Ring. And we are at the climax of Return of the King now. We had split plot lines all throughout this book. Our heroes, Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli and Gandalf, and Merry and Pippin and Éomer of Rohan and all, fighting on the battlefield, fighting to save Minas Tirith, the capital of men in Middle-earth, from a ruinous assault made by Sauron, the Dark Lord in Mordor, the Lord of the Rings, who is a ruthless and land-hungry military dictator, but he is also a supernatural threat, and the supernatural threat is far more important, as all of our characters know. Maybe the foot soldiers underneath them don't know, but they all know that they are merely a distraction. They cannot win on the field of battle against the forces that Sauron can deploy. The whole East is moving. They cannot win against that. That's always bugged me a little. That has always bugged me a little. I, if this is the threat to the end of everything, and if all the free peoples of the world know that, then is it really important that all of the Ents and all of the horns, all of the semi-wild trees that can annihilate whole armies, is it really important that all of them be guarding Saruman at Orthanc and beautifying the surrounding area and horticultural displays? Is that really as important as maybe all of them coming to the Pelennor Fields? And what about, I know we've been told at one point, Legolas actually says, it would be great to see a phalanx of armed elves coming to our aid, but war is upon them as well. It's important to remember that Sauron is making war on all of the West at the time when we're only seeing one of these battles. Battles are being fought everywhere that we don't ever get a Tolkien epic about. Nevertheless, I think if this is the end of everything, and if there is no victory if this fails, I would think that maybe there could be a little bit more of a show of force on the Pelennor Fields, but it still wouldn't matter. Even if there were more of a show of force, that show of force would still be a diversion only. This is designed to keep Sauron's attention focused on the battlefield, where his Corsair fleet has been defeated, where the heir of Isildur has revealed himself with Narsil, with the sword that cut the ring from Sauron's finger thousands of years ago, when Gandalf has been revealed as reborn, as an extremely powerful figure on the chessboard, and as the great captain of Sauron's forces attacking Minas Tirith, the Witch King of Angmar, the leader of the Nazgul, has been defeated, destroyed, unexpectedly. All of that is unexpected. And it is serving its purpose. It is keeping Sauron's attention firmly fixed where it should not be. Because the whole time that this is happening, the real plot of the story, the thing that is not merely a distraction, is the hobbit Frodo, who is carrying the one ring of power into Mordor in order to destroy it. He is accompanied by his servant Sam, and their footsteps are being dogged by the creature Gollum. All three of them are headed to Mount Doom. All three of them are somehow evading orc capture, at least permanent orc capture. Frodo is captured at one point, and the orcs screw up and he gets away. Frodo and Sam are both co-opted into marching for a while with an orc army and are not detected. Gollum is following along. The orcs know that perfectly well. They know that this flappy-footed creature is out there somewhere. They can't catch him. They don't deem him as being very dangerous, but Gollum is connected to the ring. He's going to follow it no matter what. And their goal is essential. The battlefield antics are not. They are designed only to delay. If Sauron gets the ring, which has a huge amount of his energy, his personal sorcery in it, If he gets it and is reunited with it, then he becomes too powerful to be defeated in any way. And if it's destroyed, then he's destroyed, and everything that he built his kingdom on is destroyed because he loses all of that power. He doesn't get to draw on it, doesn't get to draw it to him, doesn't get to animate anything with it. It's an all or nothing battle, and it's being fought by two little hobbits who aren't really anything special unless we are to believe the implication of Tolkien's writings all throughout this book, which is that all hobbits are really special, that they are really hardy, commonsensical, down-to-earth people, not really given to the kinds of evil temptations that the ring exerts. We saw that just a chapter ago, where Sam, who has been wearing the ring on and off outside of Mordor, he is now carrying, at one point he is carrying it on a chain around his neck, and he feels the temptation of it. Exactly the kinds of temptations that it has already presented to virtually everybody in the book, that it comes across it. And he has succeeded. He has said, one humble garden is all that he needs or merits. He is now helping Frodo in this chapter, the chapter that we're on today, which is the climax of the book. It is called Mount Doom. And it is our two heroes getting all the way to Orodruin, getting all the way to the only molten fires anywhere on Middle-earth that can destroy the One Ring. And they walk, and they stagger, and they sleep in living nightmares, and finally they crawl, and Gollum is right there to contest them, to fight with them. And finally, after all this time, after 1,000 pages, Frodo is standing on the edge of the fires of Mount Doom, with the ring in his hand, dangling it over the fires that can destroy it. Against all odds, he has succeeded in getting all the way there, instead of being stopped at any of the dozen places where he could have been. And at the last minute, right then, when Sam is watching, Frodo fails. That hobbit tenacity, that hobbit common sense, fails. Whether it's because Frodo is particularly susceptible or because he's been eroded by the ring, by carrying it for so long, at the end he says, I choose not to do this thing. The ring is mine. He chooses not to destroy the ring. It is right on the edge of being destroyed. It is exercising its peak influence over him. And instead of destroying the ring, he puts it on and vanishes from Sam's sight. And we get a great passage. The reason why Sam and Frodo have been endangered this last chapter is by orcs and passing evil Easterlings is because they dare not put on the ring when they're in the confines of Mordor, or Sauron would surely know. That's why they haven't been using it that way. And now Frodo puts on the ring in the heart of Mordor. And we get a passage that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Keep in mind, Sauron's Nazgul are fighting the forces of our heroes in the west. Not in the west, but before the gates of Barad-dûr right now, as we speak. The action has conjoined. And we get this passage, which I absolutely love. And far away, as Frodo put on the ring and claimed it for his own, even in Samath Naur, the very heart of his realm, the power in Barad-dûr was shaken, and the tower trembled from its foundations to its proud and bitter crown. The Dark Lord was suddenly aware of him, and his eye, piercing all shadows, looked across the plain to the door that he had made, and the magnitude of his own folly was revealed to him in a blinding flash, and all the devices of his enemies were at last laid bare. Then his wrath blazed in consuming flame, but his fear rose like a vast smoke to choke him, for he knew his deadly peril and the thread upon which his doom now hung. From all his policies and webs of fear and treachery, from all his stratagems and wars, his mind shook free, and throughout his realm a tremor ran. His slaves quailed, and his armies halted, and his captains, suddenly steerless, bereft of will, wavered and despaired, for they were forgotten. The whole mind and purpose of the power that wielded them was now bent with overwhelming force upon the mountain. At his summons, wheeling with a rending cry in a last desperate race, there flew, faster than the winds, the Nazgul, the ring-wraiths. With a storm of wings, they hurtled southward to Mount Doom. But they are too late. And just as Frodo is exulting, Gollum plays the part that Gandalf long ago foretold that he would play. He attacks the invisible Frodo bites the finger off that has the ring. Frodo reappears with a maimed hand, and Gollum at last has his precious back, and they both fall into the fire. And the ring is destroyed. And Mount Doom suddenly convulses. It was convulsing anyway. Now it convulses far more. This changes everything. This is the climax of the book. The quest has succeeded. The minute that Frodo is freed from the ring, he is himself again. He isn't going to throw himself into the fire after Gollum, but the Gollum and the ring have vanished. And that's how the chapter ends. With Sam and Frodo just assuming that they are doomed. They will be consumed by the eruption of Mount Doom. There's no one around to help them. Everything will be consumed in this final cataclysm. But they have succeeded. The ring is gone. And that is the chapter, Mount Doom, where we get this horrifying moment on Sauron's part, where at long last, he realizes that he has been fooled. At long last, he realizes that he has been concentrating on the wrong thing. We were told a whole book ago that if he pulled into Mordor and concentrated all his forces on making sure that nothing got in or out that he didn't notice, not a single bird, well, then he'd be unbeatable. There'd be no chance for the quest to survive. But he didn't do that. Instead, he is relatively confident in his own defenses, even though, as we've seen, they're manned by incompetence, and he is distracted by all the action on the Western field, and now on his very own gate, on his very own doorstep. And so that is the climax of the book. That is the climax of The Lord of the Rings. Now, we've already seen that Tolkien as an author he does in all three books. There's a climax and then a falling action in all three times. And unfortunately, in the 21st century, thanks, I would argue, to the proliferation of MFA programs, most writers, and therefore most readers, think that falling action is anticlimax. That is not true. that is not true. Nevertheless, Tolkien is really good at it, and he insists on it. So that's what we're going to get for a few chapters next. So that'll be our next chapter. We've reached the end. The ring is no more. This pressing evil is no more. Now we will get the fallout. So we'll do that next time. I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.